Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the June 8th, 2020 legislative session of the Salisbury City Council. I'd like to welcome all the viewers that are following us on Zoom. And at this time, I'll ask for a moment of silent meditation or prayer. Thank you, everyone. Ms. Glantz, we have a proclamation this evening.
We do. It is Pride Month, and so we have a proclamation for that this evening. So it is as follows. Whereas the city of Salisbury has a diverse lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, questioning, LGBTQ community and is committed to supporting visibility, dignity, and equality for all in the community. And whereas many of the residents, students, city employees, and business owners within the city of Salisbury who contribute to the enrichment of our city are part of the LGBTQ community, and whereas various advancements have been made with respect to equitable treatment of lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and questioning persons throughout the nation, but there continues to be some opposition against people from the LGBTQ community, making it important for cities like Salisbury to stand up and show their support for affected residents. And whereas several cities across the United States recognize, and several, I'd say more than several, across the United States recognize and celebrate June as LGBTQ Pride Month, and whereas June has become a symbolic month in which lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender persons and supporters come together in various celebrations of Pride, and whereas June 28, 2019 marked the 50th anniversary of the beginning of Stonewall Uprising in New York City, which symbolizes the start of the LGBTQ liberation struggle in America. And whereas the rainbow flag, also known as the LGBTQ pride flag or gay pride flag, has been used since the 1970s as a symbol of LGBTQ social movements. And whereas flying the rainbow flag in the downtown throughout the month of June further symbolizes the city's celebration of diversity and support for the lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer questioning community. And whereas the city of Salisbury was on track to host its first ever Pride Parade and Festival this June, but it had to be rescheduled due to COVID-19 restrictions. Now, therefore, I, Julia Glanz, City Administrator of the City of Salisbury, do hereby proclaim June 2020 as LGBTQ Pride Month in our city and invite everyone to reflect on the ways we can all live and work together with a commitment to mutual respect and understanding as the city recognizes Pride Month by flying the rainbow flag downtown during the month of June as a prelude to hosting a rescheduled Pride Parade and Festival in the not too distant future. And I would like to add—
Thank you, Ms. Glantz.
Thank you. If you've been downtown, you've seen our other additions. We've put up Pride banners on the lights downtown on Main and Division, which is a nice bright addition. And really proud of the city for the first time last year declaring Pride as the month of June. I think it's a real testament, especially on the Eastern Shore when you know, it's a big statement. So on behalf of that community, thank you.
You're very welcome. And hopefully we can have the parade soon.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, at this time, I'll call for a motion to adopt the legislative agenda.
So moved. Second.
I got Mr. Boda first and Ms. Blake second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Mr. Boda?
Aye.
Ms. Blake?
Aye.
Mrs. Gregory?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. I'll call for a motion and a second to adopt the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Blake, Mrs. Gregory. Good evening, Mrs. Nichols.
Good evening. On the consent agenda tonight, the May 2020 work session minutes, the May 22nd, 2020 special meeting minutes, the May 26th, 2020 council meeting minutes, and the May 26th, 2020 special work session minutes. Resolution number 3039, approving the appointment of Stephen Feliciano to the Human Rights Advisory Committee for the term ending May 2024. And that's it. Agenda.
Thank you, Mrs. Nichols. At this time, I'll call the motion. All those in favor of the consent agenda approval, please signify by saying aye. Mr. Boda?
Aye.
Ms. Blake?
Aye.
Mrs. Gregory?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. The vote is 4-0. Stephen Feliciano, are you on the call by any chance? I don't think so. But we want to thank you, Stephen, for volunteering and serving on the committee. At this time, I'll entertain a motion for the award of bids.
So moved.
Mr. Boda?
Second.
Mr. Gregory? Good evening, Mrs. Miller.
Good evening, everyone. All items this evening are declaration of surplus. First item, in February of 2017, the City of Salisbury issued RFP 0817 on behalf of the Department of Public Works for the purchase and delivery of an aquatic weed harvester, a supporting transfer conveyor, and transport trailer. At a final cost of $139,463, the equipment was then delivered in February 2018. Per the attached memo from the Department of Field Operations, this equipment has been found to be unsuitable or no longer necessary for the original intended usage. Therefore, the City of Salisbury wishes to declare this item surplus so as to sell and recoup maximum cost while the item is in good condition. The Department of Procurement hereby requests Council's approval to declare the noted item as surplus and proceed as indicated.
Okay, thank you, Mrs. Miller. Questions or comments, Mr. Boda?
No
No
question.
questions. Ms. Blake?
No questions.
Mrs. Gregory?
No questions.
I have a question. I can remember this discussion. How many times was this thing tried in the water?
I believe Ben Baker might be on the call. Possibly Ben can answer that.
Jan,
Ben,
I'm
can you
here.
answer?
I'm sorry, Mr. Council President. I'm here as well.
Oh, okay.
The harvester's been in the water one time. That's when it was delivered, and we received some training. It was very difficult for the vendor to get both off and back on the trailer. And it just simply, I don't know what the original intent was, perhaps to collect trash on the Wycomico River, but it's just not suited for that. The few locations where we might be able to harvest aquatic vegetation, we either can't get the boat in the water or there's simply no need.
To follow up with that,
So it's brand new.
Yes.
Okay. Question for you. Can we trade it into somebody so that we can get one of the CIP items that we had to reject this year because of lack of funds?
If we get enough money, I guess.
Yeah, that's the intent, to put that money towards something better suited for us and our needs.
Do we have a minimum? This scares me, and sort of, I saw in the paperwork that we're thinking about auction. How about going back to the people that we bought it from and saying, hey, listen, you solved the problem we had when you installed it, and try to work out a deal with them to give us in other words, take it back and resell it.
I considered that myself. I have no problem with doing that. I'm sorry, Jen, go ahead.
No, we can certainly reach back out to the manufacturer, but we've had it now for 2 years, I can't make any promises on what we'll be able to do with it, but certainly we can reach out to them.
Yeah, I would suggest we do that first. The other thing that I would suggest is that on a purchase of a piece of equipment, such as this, which is a specialty piece of equipment, I think we have to use the same tact that we now are aware of and learn from with the technology at the wastewater treatment plant. We need to make sure that it can do the job that they said it can do, and make sure that we don't get into another situation like this. And I'm not looking to blame anybody. I'm just looking to be a little smarter in the future in terms of the way that we handle those kinds of one-off procurements. If you buy a dump truck and you buy one dump truck, it's easy to go out and buy another dump truck. You want essentially the same thing. For something like a aquatic harvester, I think we need to do a little more due diligence. That's my point.
What I just want to
Okay.
ask to follow up on something that Jack had mentioned. When I was reading through that also, was this the boat or piece of equipment that was supposed to help clean up Shoemaker Pond?
Yes, it was ponds and the river.
Yes. The other thought I had about with the sale of it is I'm wondering, and I don't know, because I was worried about the auctioning also, and maybe not getting the full value if it's in a really good condition. Has it been stored inside?
It's underneath a shelter. It's not fully enclosed, but it's also not getting rained on unless it's wind-driven rain.
Well, I'm also wondering if maybe reaching out to other municipalities who could possibly actually use it and sell it to them. Maybe I don't know how all that works. It's just a suggestion or an idea.
Yeah, so noted. We talked with the county. Wycomico County, they don't really have any use for it. We found out after working with them and that the harvester really won't work very well at Shoemaker Pond because there are so many stumps there. So we're partnering with the county on another approach. If I were to have considered this particular piece of equipment for what it was intended for, which I believe was mostly to collect trash in the Wycomico River, I would not have made this purchase.
Okay, if there's no other comments on this one, let's go to the next.
Okay, thank you. The next item is for the Salisbury Police Department. The Department of Procurement received a request from the Salisbury Police Department to declare several items surplus, which are either outdated or damaged. Where applicable, the city will attempt to sell viable items and dispose of others that have little to no value. The Department of Procurement hereby requests Council's approval to declare the noted items as surplus and proceed as warranted by the item and its probable value.
Mrs. Miller, was this part of the upgrade to the communications?
Some of it was,
at the-
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, gotcha. Any other questions about the list or about the change?
Jack, you asked mine.
Okay. There's no other questions. Mrs. Miller, next item.
Yep. Last item. The Department of Procurement received a request from the Salisbury Fire Department to declare 21 pieces of turnout gear as surplus. These items have surpassed their usable life and must be disposed of in accordance with National Fire Protection Association Code 1851 so that they are not utilized for further service. The Department of Procurement hereby requests Council's approval to declare the noted items surplus and to allow the Salisbury Fire Department to destroy the gear.
Okay, thank you. Any questions, Mr. Boda?
No questions.
Ms. Blake?
No questions.
Mrs. Gregory?
No questions.
And I have no questions regarding this matter. Having this be the last item, I'll now call the motion. All those in favor of the award of bids, please signify by saying aye. Mr. Boda?
Aye.
Ms. Blake?
Aye.
Mrs. Gregory?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. The vote is 4-0. Thank you, Mrs. Miller.
Thank you, council.
This time I'll entertain a motion to approve Resolution 3033.
So moved.
Mr. Boda?
Second.
Mrs. Blake?
No, that was Michelle who seconded.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Sorry. You sound alike. I apologize. Mrs. Blake? Seconded. Mrs. Gland?
Yes, thank you. Resolution number 3033, a resolution of the City of Salisbury proposing the annexation to the City of Salisbury of certain area of land contiguous to and binding upon the southerly corporate limit of the City of Salisbury to be known as the South Division Street condo annexation, beginning for the same at a point on the existing corporate limit, said point lying on the easterly right-of-way of South Division Street and also being the northwesterly corner of the lands of the South Division Street condominium, continuing around the perimeter of the affected property to the point beginning containing all of the map 048-parcel 0217 and consisting of approximately 3.03 acres of land.
Thank you, Acting Mayor. Questions or comments, Mr. Boda?
No comments or questions.
Ms. Blake?
No questions.
Mrs. Gregory?
None.
I have no questions. Hearing that, I'll call the motion. All those in favor of Resolution 3033, please signify by saying aye. Mr. Boda?
Aye. Aye.
Ms. Blake?
Aye.
Mrs. Gregory?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. The vote is 4-0. I'll entertain a motion to approve Resolution 3034.
So moved.
Mr. Boda?
Second.
Ms. Blake? I'm reading lips now, so I got it. Ms. Glantz?
Resolution number 3034, a resolution of the City of Salisbury to adopt an annexation plan for a certain area of land contiguous to and binding upon the southerly corporate limit of the City of Salisbury to be known as the South Division Street condo annexation, beginning for the same at a point on the existing corporate limit, said point lying on the easterly right-of-way of South Division Street and also being the northwesterly corner of the lands of South Division Street condominium, continuing around the perimeter of the affected property to the point of the beginning containing all of map 048 parcel 0217 and consisting of approximately 3.03 acres of land.
Questions or comments, Mr. Boda?
No, none.
Ms. Blake?
None.
Mrs. Gregory?
None.
I have none as well. I'll call the motion now. All those in favor of resolution number 3034, please signify by saying aye. Mr. Boda?
Aye.
Ms. Blake?
Aye.
Mrs. Gregory?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. The vote is 4-0. I'll entertain a motion to approve resolution 3040.
So moved.
Ms. Blake?
Second.
Mrs. Gregory? Ms. Glantz?
Resolution number 3034, a resolution of the City of Salisbury, Maryland, transitioning $69,888 from the revolving loan fund to a micro grant program to aid small businesses in the wake of the COVID-19 pandemic. Whereas the mayor and city council of the City of Salisbury have established a revolving loan fund to aid in the revitalization of the downtown area, and whereas there is currently $279,000, $552, in the fund, and the mayor and city council wish to repurpose 1/4 of those funds to help businesses most affected by mandated shutdowns in the wake of the COVID-19 pandemic. And whereas these funds were originally provided by HUD, and its approval of this repurposing was granted by the Director of Community Planning and Development in a May 14th, 2020 letter, a copy of which is attached. And whereas eligible businesses within the revolving loan boundaries could apply for a maximum of $2,300 for use in accordance with grant rules to pay sick leave, maintain payroll, meet increased cost, pay commercial rents or mortgages, or other obligations to purchase PPE or to spend on safety measures to reduce the spread of COVID-19. And whereas applications would be reviewed by the Director of Business Development, Deputy City Administrator, and an officer of the City of Salisbury Finance Department for completeness and eligibility. And whereas applicants would be entered into a lottery system after submitting an eligible application, and whereas funds would be dispersed to applicants selected by the lottery program.
Thank you, Ms. Goins. Questions or comments? Mr. Boda?
So we're doing this as grants, not as loans. Is that correct?
Correct. These will be strictly grants.
Okay, and then that will deplete remaining money in the revolving loan account?
That will only deplete the quarter of the funds that were transitioned over, so the $69,888.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Ms. Blake, questions or comments?
None.
Mrs. Gregory?
No questions.
Mrs. Soper, question for you. Timing on the awarding of these for the public.
I have the timeline. We're looking to get it open starting this week. We also have another acceptance of a grant that would go towards this coming next week to work session, and a potential donation from Delmarva Power. So that's kind of shifted it back. We can open applications as soon as this gets approved, or we can kind of wait until you have a chance to review some of those grant acceptances and donation acceptances. So either this week or very early next week, we can open the application period. It will run to the end of June, and I'm thinking we would award have the lottery beginning of July and make the awards no later than July 15th.
That's great. The sooner the better. Our guys are struggling out there, guys and gals. So,
Mr. President.
Thank you for doing that. I'll now call the motion. All those in favor of resolution number 3040, please signify by saying aye. Mr. Boda?
Aye.
Ms. Blake?
Aye.
Mrs. Gregory?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. The vote is 4-0.
Mr. President, I have a
Yes.
point of order. Kim sent me a
Yes.
message. She wanted to make sure we announced that the public hearing for the annexation that we just approved will be July 13th.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. At this time, I'll entertain a motion to approve ordinance number 2593.
So moved.
Mr. Boda?
Second.
Ms. Blake, seconded. Good evening, Mr. Tillman.
Ordinance number 2593 is an ordinance appropriating the necessary funds for the operation of the government and administration of the City of Salisbury, Maryland for the period from July 1st, 2020 to June 30th, 2021, establishing the levy for the general fund for the same fiscal period and establishing the appropriation for the water and sewer, parking authority, city marina, and stormwater funds. Be it ordained by the City of Salisbury, Maryland, that the amounts listed in Schedule A operating budget appropriations are hereby appropriated for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2020 and ending July 30th, 2021 to fund operations of the City of Salisbury, Maryland. Be it further ordained by the City of Salisbury, Maryland, that the amounts listed in Schedule B capital project appropriations are hereby appropriated for capital projects, and be it further ordained by the City of Salisbury, Maryland, that the amounts listed in Schedule C anticipated grant expenditures are hereby appropriated for the grants listed, and the mayor is authorized to enter into any necessary agreements or memoranda in order to receive and expend these funds. Be it further ordained that the tax levy be, and the same is hereby set at $0.9832 per $100 of assessed valuation of all real property, at $3.51 per $100 of assessed valuation of all personal property categorized as utilities, and at $2.40 per $100 of assessed valuation for all other personal property subject to taxation by the City of Salisbury for general fund purposes, including debt service purposes, exclusive of revenues derived from the Water and Sewer Fund for debt service purposes attributed to water and sewer activities. In paragraph 2, all taxes levied by this ordinance shall be liens from and after July 1st, 2020, and shall be due and payable as specified in Title 14 of the Tax Property Article of the Annotated Code of Maryland as amended. And be it further ordained by the Salisbury City Council that a public hearing at the proposed budget ordinance was held on May 18th, 2020 at 4:30 p.m. and be it further ordained by the City Council that the ordinance shall take effect upon final passage. And this, the schedule in the ordinance reflect the reduction in revenues that are anticipated as a result of the change in the landlord-tenant fees.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion to amend the ordinance to reflect the reading by Mr. Tillman.
Thank you, Mr. Boda. Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Ms. Blake. We have an amendment to change the, to adopt the ordinance as read by Mr. Tillman. We'll vote on that amendment first, and then we will vote on the actual ordinance number 2593. All those in favor of the amendment, as stated by Mr. Boda, please signify by saying aye. Mr. Boda.
Aye.
Ms. Blake.
Aye.
Mrs. Gregory.
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. The vote on the amendment is 4-0. I will now call the motion on the approval of ordinance number 2593. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Mr. Boda.
Aye.
Ms. Blake.
Aye.
Mrs. Gregory.
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. The vote on ordinance number 2593 is 4-0. I'll entertain a motion to approve ordinance number 2594 for the second reading.
So moved.
Ms. Blake.
Second.
Mrs. Gregory. Mr. Tillman.
Thank you. Ordinance number 2594 is an ordinance of the City of Salisbury to establish that there is no rate change for the water and sewer rates effective for all bills dated October 1st, 2020 and thereafter, unless and until subsequently revised or changed. Whereas the water and sewer rates must be revised in accordance with the proposed fiscal year 2021 budget of the City of Salisbury and the appropriations thereby made and established for the purposes of the water and sewer departments. Now therefore be it ordained and enacted by the Council of the City of Salisbury that the following water and sewer rate schedule shall be adopted by the City of Salisbury. This, the water and sewer rate schedules were read by me at the time of the first reading. They have not changed, and they are remaining the same as they were in the prior fiscal year.
Thank you, Mr. Tillman. Questions or comments, Mr. Boda?
None.
Ms. Blake?
None.
Mrs. Gregory?
None.
Hearing no questions or comments, I'll call the motion. All those in favor of ordinance number 2594 for the second reading, please signify by saying aye. Mr. Boda.
Aye.
Ms. Blake.
Aye.
Mrs. Gregory.
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. The vote on ordinance number 2594 is 4-0. I'll entertain a motion to approve ordinance number 2595 for the second reading.
So moved.
Mr. Boda.
Second.
Mrs. Blake. I'll get you next time, Mrs. Gregory. Mr. Tillman.
Thank you. Ordinance number 2595. This is an amended ordinance of the City of Salisbury, Maryland, to set fees for the 2021 and thereafter unless and until subsequently revised or changed. Whereas the fees charged by the city are reviewed and then revised in accordance with the adoption of the fiscal year 2021 budget of the City of Salisbury. And whereas the fees listed in the attached FY 2021 fee schedule Exhibit 1 are an attempt to identify and list all fees, some of which are revised in accordance with the adoption of the fiscal year 2021 budget of the City of Salisbury, and whereas some of the fees may have been inadvertently omitted from the schedule, any existing fees not listed in the attached FY 2021 fee schedule shall remain as currently set forth in the Salisbury Municipal Code. Now therefore be it ordained and enacted by the Council of the City of Salisbury that the fee amounts included in the attached Exhibit 1 FY 2021 fee schedule shall be adopted by the City of Salisbury, and the amount set forth therein shall supersede the corresponding fee amounts prescribed in the Salisbury Municipal Code until one or more of the said fees are subsequently amended. And be it further ordained and enacted that this ordinance was introduced at a meeting of the City Council held on April 27th, 2020, and duly passed at a meeting of the Council to be held or intended to be passed on June 8th, 2020, and to become effective July 1st, 2020. The amendment to the schedule deals with the landlord licensing fees and also the fees for unit registration, the fee for landlord license fee renewals, and also the landlord unit registration renewals. Those fees have, from the earlier reading, have now been reduced so that they will remain the same as they were in the 2021 fiscal year.
Mr.
Thank you,
President,
Yes, Mr. Boda.
I'd like to make a motion to amend ordinance number 2595 as read by Mr. Tillman.
We have a motion to amend ordinance number 2595 as per the reading by Mr. Tillman. Do we have a second to the motion, please?
Second.
Mrs. Gregory, thank you very much. Questions or comments on the amendment? Hearing none, I'll call the motion. We'll vote on the amendment first. All those in favor of the amendment to ordinance number 2595, please signify by saying aye. Mr. Boda.
Aye.
Ms. Blake.
Aye.
Mrs. Gregory.
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. The vote on the amendment is 4-0. I'll now call the motion to approve ordinance number 2595. All those in favor, please signify as amended. Please signify by saying aye. Mr. Boda.
Aye.
Ms. Blake.
Aye.
Mrs. Gregory.
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. The vote on ordinance number 2595 for the second reading is 4-0. I'll entertain a motion to approve ordinance number 2596 for the second reading.
So moved.
Mr. Boda.
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Blake. Questions or comments? Mr. Tillman, go ahead.
Ordinance number 2596 is an ordinance of the City of Salisbury approving an amendment of the city's capital project fund budget fund to provide additional funding for the zoo administration office space project. Whereas ordinance number 2539 FY20 budget authorized funding of $100,000 from bond proceeds for the zoo administration office project, and whereas the Department of Field Operations has estimated that an additional $40,000 is needed to complete the project, and whereas the Finance Department has determined that $40,000 is available in the unallocated interest earned on funds in the same pool of capital projects, now therefore be it ordained by the City Council of the City of Salisbury, Maryland, that the city's capital project fund budget be and is hereby amended as follows. And there's an increase in revenue, zoo administration office space, and that is by $40,000. And there's an increase in the expense zoo administration office space by $40,000. This ordinance was introduced and read at a meeting of the council of the City of Salisbury on May 26th, and thereafter a statement of the substance of the ordinance having been published as required by law is intended to be voted on this evening, June 8, 2020.
Thank you, Mr. Tillman. Questions or comments, Mr. Boda?
None.
Ms. Blake?
None.
Mr. Gregory?
None.
And I have none. I will now call the motion to approve ordinance number 2596 for the second reading. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Mr. Boda?
Aye.
Ms. Blake?
Aye.
Mrs. Gregory?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. The vote is 4-0 to approve ordinance number 2596 for the second reading. I'll entertain a motion to approve ordinance 2597 for the second reading.
So moved.
Ms. Blake?
Second.
Mrs. Gregory? Mr. Tillman?
This is ordinance number 2597, an ordinance of the City of Salisbury approving a budget amendment of the FY 2020 General Fund to appropriate funds for building improvements and for the government office building. Whereas the City of Salisbury has determined that the government office building electric system should be improved to reallocate transformers to outside the building and allow electric to be turned off from outside should the need arise, thereby providing a safer environment within the government office building. And whereas the General Services Department of Wicomico County will oversee the work, estimates the cost of the necessary electrical improvements to be $55,000. Now therefore be it ordained by the City Council of the City of Salisbury, Maryland, that the city's fiscal year 2020 general fund budget be amended as follows. 1, increase the current year surplus by $55,000, increase the buildings fund by $55,000. Be it further ordained, this ordinance shall take effect from and after the date of final passage.
Thank you, Mr. Tillman. Questions or comments? Mr. Boda?
No questions.
Ms. Blake?
No questions.
Mrs. Gregory?
None.
Thank you. Hearing none, I'll call the motion. All those in favor of ordinance number 2597 for the second reading, please signify by saying aye. Mr. Boda?
Aye.
Ms. Blake?
Aye.
Mrs. Gregory?
Aye.
Thank you. And the chair votes aye. The vote is 4-0 to approve resolution 2597 for the second reading. I'll entertain a motion to approve ordinance number 2598 for the second reading.
So moved.
Mr. Boda?
Second.
Mrs. Gregory? Mr. Tillman?
Thank you. Ordinance number 2598 is an ordinance of the City of Salisbury to amend the Salisbury Municipal Code by adding Chapter 3.24 concerning a public safety officer real property tax credit. Whereas the state of Maryland has authorized the governing body of a county or municipal corporation to grant by law a property tax credit against the county or municipal corporation property tax imposed on a dwelling that is owned by a public safety officer under certain circumstances. And whereas in accordance with 9-260 of the tax property article of the annotated code of Maryland, there exists a City of Salisbury property tax on real property that qualifies for the consideration of a tax credit pursuant to this section. And whereas there does not currently exist a provision in the city code that establishes a property tax credit for a public safety officer, And whereas the credit may not exceed a certain amount per dwelling, or the amount of property tax imposed on the dwelling pursuant to the aforementioned section, and whereas the city of Salisbury wishes to establish a tax credit against city real property tax for certain real property owned by public safety officers who are full-time employees or volunteers in good standing, reside at the same location, and meet the eligibility requirements set forth in 9-105 and 9-260 of the tax property article, now therefore be it enacted and ordained by the city of Salisbury, that Title III, Revenue and Finance of the City of Salisbury Municipal Code is hereby amended by adding Chapter 3.24 as follows. Chapter 3.24, Public Safety Officer Real Property Tax Credit. That section defines the dwelling and who is and is not a public safety officer, has the meaning set forth in 9-260 of the tax property article of the annotated code of Maryland. 3.24.020, creation in accordance with 9-260 of the tax property article of the annotated code of Maryland. There is a city of Salisbury property tax credit against the tax on real property that qualifies under this section. Under 3.24.030, eligibility, a public safety officer is eligible for a city real property tax credit under the section by meeting the requirements of either 3.24030A, B, or C, and the requirements of 3.24030D. Employment full-time by the City of Salisbury Fire Department as a firefighter EMT or firefighter paramedic, or the City of Salisbury Police Department as a police officer, and has completed at least 1 year of full-time employment. The individual must be serving, can also be serving as a volunteer member. The member is in good standing of a volunteer corporation in accordance with Chapter 2.16 Fire Department of the City of Salisbury Municipal Code, and meets the operational standards for volunteer personnel as established by the standard operating procedures of the City of Salisbury Fire Department, and has qualified as active duty within the previous year under the guidelines established in the Length of Service Awards program. C, has received a service-related disability, retired from the job in good standing, or served as a volunteer member for more than 20 years of active service and has become a lifetime member in accordance with Chapter 2.16 Fire Department of the City of Salisbury Municipal Code. And D, a public safety officer is eligible for the credit authorized by 9-105 of the tax property article of the annotated code of Maryland. For the dwelling for which the credit is sought, the dwelling must also be the primary residence of the public safety officer. The credit cannot be combined with other optional real property tax credits permitted under Title IX of the tax property article of the annotated code of Maryland for this type. The amount of the credit, subject to the conditions in this section, the tax credit may be granted in an amount of up to $2,500 per dwelling, but may not exceed the amount of the real property tax imposed on the dwelling. The eligible public safety officer shall receive in tax years beginning July 1, 2020 and July 1, 2021, tax credit not to exceed $1,000. In tax years beginning July 1, 2022 and July 1, 2023, the tax credit cannot exceed $1,500. In tax years beginning July 1, 2024 and July 1, 2025, the tax credit cannot exceed $2,000. And in tax years beginning July 1, 2026 and beyond, the tax credit cannot exceed $2,500. Application and annual verification. To receive the credit, a public safety officer shall submit an application to the City of Salisbury Director of Finance on the appropriate application. The application may be obtained from the Department of Finance. An annual verification form must be submitted each year to be eligible to receive the credit. The annual verification form may be obtained from the Department of Finance. An application for or renewal of the tax credit created by this section shall be filed on or before April 1st, immediately before the taxable year for which the credit is sought. If the application or renewal is filed after April 1, the credit shall be disallowed that year, but shall be treated as an application for renewal or a tax credit for the following taxable year. Termination of the credit. The tax credit created by this section shall terminate if any of the following occurs. A, the public safety officer is no longer employed full-time by the public safety agency for a reason other than retirement or service-related disability, or is no longer eligible under 24-030B for volunteer firefighters. Or subparagraph B, the public safety officer no longer resides in the dwelling for which the tax credit was granted. And be it further ordained and enacted by the City of Salisbury, Maryland, this ordinance shall take effect immediately upon adoption.
Thank you, Mr. Tillman. Questions or comments, Mr. Boda?
None. I think this is hopefully will help with some recruitment issues, specifically in the volunteer fire department. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Boda. Ms. Blake?
I think it's a wonderful opportunity that Salisbury can look at this and provide this for our employees. I think it's great.
Thank you, Mrs. Blake. Ms. Blake. Mrs. Gregory?
No questions or comments.
Thank you.
Already been said.
I would just like to add that statistically, it's been proven that when neighborhoods have either police or fire or both in their neighborhoods, the security of that area is much greater, and certainly the neighbors appreciate it. And I think that our guys and gals deserve it. So, having said that, I'll call the motion. All those in favor of ordinance number 2598 for the second reading, please signify by saying aye. Mr. Boda?
Aye.
Ms. Blake?
Aye.
Mrs. Gregory?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. The vote is 4-0 for approval of ordinance number 2598 for the second reading. At this time, I'll entertain a motion to approve ordinance number 2600 for the second reading.
So moved.
Ms. Blake?
Second.
Mrs. Gregory? Thank you. Mr. Tillman?
Yes, ordinance number 2600 is an ordinance in the City of Salisbury approving a budget amendment of the FY 2020 General Fund to appropriate funds for frontline worker stipend. Whereas the City of Salisbury has determined many of the city's employees have performed services due to COVID-19 or deserving of frontline worker stipend, and whereas the City of Salisbury estimates the cost of the frontline worker stipend to be $151,248.25 to departments in the general fund. Now therefore be it ordained by the City Council of the City of Salisbury, Maryland, that the city's fiscal year 2020 general fund budget be amended as follows. Increase the current year surplus by $151,248.25. Increase the police department budget by $67,281.25. Increase the fire department by $67,012.13. Increase the sanitation department by $9,688.50. Increase the infrastructure and development department by $4,844.25. And increase the housing and community development by $2,422.13.
Thank you, Mr. Tillman. Questions or comments? Mr. Boda?
I think this is a great way to show our appreciation to those on the front line doing this and being at risk with this. And some of our people have been affected by this, and I think everybody knows somebody who has contracted it and died from it. We have family members that have, so but we appreciate those that serve, and thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bowden. Ms. Blake? Questions or comments?
No comments. I think it's a great thing for our employees.
Thank you. Mrs. Gregory?
Only comment is to reiterate that this is something that these workers absolutely deserve, and I'm glad that we're doing this.
Thank you, Mrs. Gregory. I would just like to add, God bless these people. They're right there, and fire, police, community service, everyone that comes in contact with and puts themselves at risk to protect the rest of us. Um, We're not alone in this. There are many, many cities that are doing the same thing and well-deserved. I'll now call the motion on ordinance number 2600 for the second reading. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Mr. Boda.
Aye.
Ms. Blake.
Aye.
Mrs. Gregory.
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. The vote is 4-0 for approval of ordinance number 2600 for the second reading. At this time, I'll entertain a motion to approve ordinance number 2601 for the first reading.
So moved.
Ms. Blake,
Second.
Mr. Boda. Mr. Tillman.
2601 is an ordinance of the City of Salisbury approving a budget amendment of the fiscal year 2020 general fund budget to appropriate funds for attorney's fees. Whereas the City of Salisbury has projected the amount of attorney's fees expected for FY 2020, and whereas the City of Salisbury's projected indicates an increase of $45,000 in fiscal year 2020 appropriations is needed in account 17000-513301, the city attorney, in order to meet projected requirements for legal fees for the remainder of FY 2020. Now therefore be it ordained by the City Council of the City of Salisbury, Maryland, the city's fiscal year 2020 general fund budget be amended as follows. Paragraph 1, increase the current year surplus by $45,000, increase the city attorney account by an equivalent amount.
Thank you, Mr. Tillman. Questions or comments? Mr. Boda.
No question.
Ms. Blake.
No questions.
Mrs. Gregory.
No questions.
Hearing none, I'll call the motion. All those in favor of ordinance number 2601 for the first reading, please signify by saying aye. Mr. Boda.
Aye.
Ms. Blake.
Aye.
Mrs. Gregory.
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. The vote is 4-0 for approval of the first reading of ordinance number 2601. I'll entertain a motion to approve ordinance number 2602 for the first reading.
So moved.
Mr.
Second.
Boda? Ms. Blake, right? Yes. Mr. Tillman.
Ordinance number 2602 is an ordinance of the City of Salisbury approving an amendment of the city's water sewer capital project fund budget to reallocate funding for the Gordy Road Water Main Extension Project. Whereas ordinance number 2430 authorized the city to allocate funding for the projects in the lawsuit proceeds pool, which appropriated funds for various capital projects. And whereas the lawsuit proceeds pool included funding for the Fitzwater Street lift station, and whereas the Department of Infrastructure and Development is seeking to move unused funds from the Fitzwater Street lift station project to the Gordy Road Water Main Extension Project to provide funding necessary for inspection and construction of the Gordy Road Water Main Extension Project. Now therefore be it ordained by the City Council of the City of Salisbury, Maryland, that the city's capital projects fund budget be and is hereby amended as follows. Under revenues, Fitzwater Street decrease lawsuit proceeds by $300,000. Under Gordy Road, increase lawsuits proceeds by $300,000. Under the expenditure column, Fitzwater Lift Station decrease construction account by $300,000. Gordy Road increase engineering by $32,000. And Gordy Road increase construction by $268,000.
Thank you, Mr. Tillman. Questions or comments? Mr. Boda?
None.
Ms. Blake?
None.
Thank you. Mrs. Gregory?
None.
Thank you. Hearing none, I'll call the motion. All those in favor of ordinance number 2602 for the first reading, please signify by saying aye. Mr. Boda?
Aye.
Ms. Blake?
Aye.
Mrs. Gregory?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. The vote is 4-0 to approve ordinance number 2602 for the first reading. That concludes the agenda for the meeting tonight. Ms. Glanz, do we have any requests for public comments?
We do not. If anybody would like to that hasn't put their name in the chat, they can give a wave. But I'm not seeing any.
Okay, thank you very much. At this time, I'll call for a motion to convene in closed session to discuss a personnel matter. I need a motion and a second.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Bowden made the motion and second by, I think that was a sort of a tie.
Michelle.
Mrs. Gregory.
Be quiet, Boda.
All those in favor of entering into closed session, please signify by saying aye. Mr. Boda.
Aye.
Ms. Blake.
Aye.
Mrs. Gregory.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. That's 4 in favor, no opposed, and 1 absent. We will now enter into closed session. Thank you, everyone. Welcome back to everyone, and the City Council has just come out of a closed session to discuss a candidate for a leadership position in the city. That fulfills the requirement for the closed session. And if there's no other business, we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone. Have a great night.